Hello friends, welcome to episode 216 of the Noclip podcast. It's a Crewcast. We have the whole crew here. As you can see from my beautiful lobster-like tan, I was away last week on the island of Hawaii. Although I wasn't on the island of Hawaii, I was on a different island called Maui. I know that one because I've watched enough Moana. Frank Howley, who is your favorite character in Moana?
Not The Rock, because he turned heel and nobody likes him anymore.
That's Maui. That's okay. Well, then who then? You can't just say not The Rock.
Is there? I feel like there's got to be an animal character in that.
Yes, there's Hey Hey, which is the chicken, right?
Nice,
and then Pua, which is the pig. I would go with Pua.
Pua's
He's
a
adorable.
good name.
Yeah.
The sequel has a kind of fucked up version of Pua that some Moana like fans on the island, like little girls who like Moana, they got their own Pua to try and be like Moana, and it's like this old fucked up pig called Bua. They call. That's secretly my favorite character in Moana.
That's awesome.
Jeremy, who is the worst character in all of Disney history? Who do you think? Which one stuck out to you when you were a kid and you're like, well, fuck that person, they suck.
The worst character?
Just a real piece of scheisse.
I don't think he's a piece of shit, but Flounder from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like, because like Sebastian is annoying, but you love him, you know? But Flounder's just like, are you even a character? You're just kind of like the annoying friend in this movie.
Agreed. Yeah, he adds nothing. He just adds anxiety, maybe. Well, I guess Sebastian does too, but then he does it with, you know,
he does it with a
Jamaican accent, which means
in a vaguely racist accent. Yeah, exactly.
He can play instruments, you know. He's cool.
You can describe him.
Titan.
Remember the Plinkett episode 1 review where he had his friends describe the Star Wars characters
without saying anything,
without saying their role or their name.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, Han Solo, he's like dashing and he's like roguish and stuff. And Flounder, I don't know, he's a fish, I guess.
Exactly. There's no discernible quality. He's there to fucking sell some merchandise. Is what it's all about. Exactly. Jesse, what piece of Disney merchandise did you have? Did you have any Disney toys growing up or anything like that?
Yeah, I was really big into Buzz Lightyear. He was the coolest. To Infinity and Beyond, I dressed up as him. My brother dressed up as Woody for, I think, our third Christmas or Christmas.
Cool.
Well, no, probably we also wore the outfit between Halloween and Christmas, but for Halloween, I was Buzz Lightyear.
Was your brother? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Did he get the short straw on Woody, or
no? Woody was the cool one. I was the loser who wanted to be a space cop. Like I lost.
Cool point.
Yeah.
You're Tim Allen.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't look up anything he said in the last 4 years.
You could be. Yeah, you could have been America's sweetheart, Tom Hanks, but no, you're Tim Allen. Well, there you go. Thanks to our sponsor this month, Disney, by the way, for
Disney Plus deals. Just type in code NOCLIP20.
Yeah.
We have a fucking metric shit ton of video games to talk about. We do not have time to talk about the frivolity of children's entertainment. We are here for adult entertainment, video games. Get your fucking your moisturizer ready and lock the door, because we're going to talk about some adult video games, including Avowed. That's right, we're not done talking about Avowed yet. 2 Point Musuem, which had its embargo drop just today, I believe. A bunch of Steam Next Fest demos, and the slipperiest eel of the bunch of them, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. It's just a beautiful Hawaiian time we're having here on the Noclip Crewcast. And a massive thanks to all of our amazing patrons, without whom none of this nonsense would be possible, especially our Battle Pass holders. It's me, Ferrario, Penelope Hayes, Senator Armstrong, Eamon Slattery, Harry Flanagan, Juice, Arno, Richard Matherson, no, that's Matt Pearson, not J Pearson. It's not a name. James Brown, Mark Rojas, Tucker Morgan. Mark Rojas, by the way, I had to send him a picture of this on Discord. I was playing on the flight to Hawaii. I was playing sociable soccer, not sensible soccer. Sociable Soccer, made by John Hare, but not critically the IP that Codemasters. Oh God, does that mean fucking EA owns Sensible Soccer? Is that or does Team 17? I think Codemasters owns it. Anyway, sorry, this is just me speaking out loud like a psychopath. And I was playing it, and I was, for some reason, I guess when you play friendlies in that game, if you complete a game, it just auto-populates it with random teams the next time. So I was playing like the Serbian second division the next fucking game. And then the next game I was playing a bunch of random teams, and fucking playing for New Zealand was fucking M. Rojas.
Whoa.
Right there.
It generates a team from the patrons. That's amazing.
That's what it should do. I used to do that. In Sensible Soccer, I used to like make a team out of my mates and classmates and shit
do
like
that
that.
in WWE. Have them all wrestle all the patrons.
Right.
See who wins. Probably Cameron Ladd.
We should do it. You're right. We should do that with the Battle Pass holders. Yeah, Cameron.
A Royal Rumble of Battle Pass holders.
Exactly. Who would win? Would it be Tucker Morgan, David McGarry, Sven Huster, Pez, Aaron L. White, Ewan Nate, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider. Eric Hamilton Schneider would have like a William Regal sort of bit going on, I feel like. You know, the crown, the British accent, that whole thing. Cameron Laird. That's the big show. Zachary Snader, Alex Goucher, George Sakotis, Jacob Godserve, Entheogen, Tohir Tiliev, and Ryson. Thank you so much for your support. We got a bunch of patron shit going on at the moment. There was a patron exclusive podcast, where all four of us did our 2025 bingo card for what we think would happen in the year of our Lord 2025 in the world of video juegos. Many of those things have already happened. So if you want to check that out, it's about a 2-hour podcast. Join our Patreon for $5 and then you get access to that and shitloads more. In fact, I put up a patron play date. It's myself playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for about 90 minutes. A lot of very silly shit happens in that video. Very good fun. And this month's patron exclusive podcast, I am getting it done. My wife, who I did not think was on anything Noclip, but then Jesse reminded me, what was she on? She was on
the first podcast that you did with the 2 Point team. She was sort of like talking about her experience with 2 Point. Not 2 Point. What was the original version? 2
Point Hospital.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking about her experience with that and how much she loves that series.
Hell yeah. And since then, 2 Point Campus came out and now 2 Point Museum is out. So I'm going to get my wife on the podcast for many reasons. I do not have my family involved in anything Noclip. I like to secretly say it's because I've completely made them up and I'm actually single. But you know, nothing wrong with that. But clearly I'm just like devastated internally and need to manufacture a wife and child. That's the canon. That's what I'm going for. Okay. But I'm going to break canon for the patrons. And
it's like a Norman Bates thing, you know? Like I'll go over to Danny's house and it'll be like, yeah, my wife's in there. Then he'll run away and put on a wig and sit in the next room.
Rocking chair. Curiously backlit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my daughter. Come say hi. And like this little fucking doll made of straw gets pulled out, you know?
Oh, no.
I just play along because I'm afraid to upset you and be murdered.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, you got, yeah. And so, yes, I will be dragging her on a podcast and talking about 2 Point Museum pretty soon. So I'm going to talk about Museum a bit today, but not overly so because we're gonna do that as well. All right, more housekeeping later on. Let's dive into some video games. So I, on the flight back from Hawaii, managed to... Actually, that was the first time I've ever been there. Who's been there before? Frank, you were there before, right?
Like 3 or 4 times. Not to Maui,
sick.
though. I've been to Kauai. God, now I just think of Kauai.
Yeah, Kauai. That's
Is
it,
it
right?
Kauai? It's so weird to say these days. Kauai.
The cutest island.
Yeah, Kauai and Oahu, but not Maui.
What's I still don't know I've only been to one. I've never been to the islands before, and this was the first time, and I went to this one island. What's the vibe on all? Like, do you know what each one is like, or what?
So I know like Oahu is like the big city like that has like the most to do, the most, I don't know, like shopping centers, buildings, restaurants.
Is that on Big Island?
That's no, Oahu is like, that's where Waikiki is. I don't know how big it is, but Oahu is seen as like the main thing. Like, and then Kauai I think is just like Maui, which is way more like resort, like way more vegetation and stuff is separated and you kind of have to track like. Yeah, and that's why I liked Oahu a lot more because it was very dense with buildings and things to walk around, and like half of that, well, all of Waikiki is in all those Yakuza games now, but it's like 1-to-1 if you play the Yakuza.
Yeah,
games.
that's the thing. I didn't get any of I was hoping when I was around I might like run into some like, but there's no like Maui's like there didn't seem like there was much of a major city. I mean, I know there is on one side where that fire happened, where the bad fires happened. On the other side, I wasn't down there, but there's no like big metropolitan area where, like you said, it was mostly we were going with a kid, so we were going to a hotel with a fun pool that she could play in, and I barely saw any of Hawaii, which was tragic. But yeah, I gotta. That's where you like to go? That's the spot to go. Is it ABC Mart? Is that what was
ABC stores or
I went to one of those. There was one of those close to us. That was a good time. Bought some fucking delicious Maui fucking potato chips. That's the only time in America, technically America. It does not feel like America. Do you feel like you're in America when you're there?
No, like just speaking from what I remember of Oahu, it's like it's halfway from Japan, so it's like there's a lot of Japanese restaurant, a lot of tourists and stuff, and it's like I don't know, but also like being right in California where there is like Laguna Beach and stuff, it's like not that radically different from like the California beach towns and stuff. I don't know, I was there last when I was like 10 years old, so
okay.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Anyway, we'll talk about some Pyro Yakuza in a little bit. Avowed, though, I was on the way back on the airplane and I was listening to you guys chatting about Avowed. I actually stopped listening at a certain stage because I was like, okay, I'm getting excited about this. I'm going to go play it for myself.
Nice.
And I have done since, but I'm interested in you guys. Who's played some more since you guys talked last week?
I jumped on for a little bit more. Frank,
I got to the second area. Yeah.
Nice. What do
I
you
played
think?
a tiny bit more.
Oh yeah, Jeremy played a little bit more too.
A little bit.
Just a little taste.
Scotch.
Yeah.
Jess, you're furthest, I'm guessing now.
Yeah, I just got to the third area. I'm liking it a lot more. I feel like a lot of what I was saying in the original episode was like, I don't like the main story. It's not super pulling me in. It's still really not. But the world is like it's the whole reason I'm here at this point is I love what's going on in Avowed. I love the lore of it. I love there's so much to it in terms of like the Adra and what's going on with the Dream Scourge. And as the story develops, there has been a sort of inciting incident, which feels like way too late for there to be something where I'm like, oh, now I'm invested narratively. But there's so much going on. You learn a bunch about your character at this point. And I'm in this new area that's sort of like a desert. It's so much fun to explore and find new things and watch the side quests develop. Like I've run into so many side quests because I just was looking at the map and going, I think there's a lake over here. What if I go over there? And you go over there and here's a whole hour-long side quest. And I was like, that's great. But then you learn there's other ways you could have started it. And it's cool to see how it goes. I finally made a decision where it feels like I'm really making an impact on the narrative as well. Like there was a fork in the road and I took one path instead of the other. And now I'm like, oh, I want to play it again and see what the other direction was. It is opening up a lot. I think it took a little too long to get there. But it's a blast. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm definitely going to finish it. I'm enjoying my time with it a lot.
I'm only like maybe 5 or 6 hours in. And I'll basically a lot of what you guys said last week, I'm not going to just parrot it here or I definitely echo it. Jeremy talking about the sort of, I'd almost liken it to like a theme park or something. It has this sort of this, and I don't know what it is, right? Because we've talked about this a bunch. Remember when we did was that a bonus podcast? We did the Fallout New Vegas book club thing. Remember we all went and played New Vegas again? Yeah. And one of the things we were shocked about was actually how corridored that game is. You know what I mean? Like you can deviate from it a bit, but like you kind of spend the first, like geographically, unless you go down that Deathclaw alley, which you kind of can't, you are sort of brought to the prison and then to the town, and then you take the little thing, and then eventually you kind of get spat out into the Vegas Plateau or whatever, Mojave Plateau. But it is kind of hemmed in, but it it never feels that way. It always feels like you have agency over everything. And I'm trying to figure out as I'm playing it, what is it about these games? Because Outer Wilds is the exact same thing. Outer Wilds, and I like playing Outer Wilds a lot.
You mean the Outer Worlds?
Did I fucking do it?
No, you did it.
God. Oh my fucking God.
Someone hit the button.
Oh, Outer Worlds definitely feels a lot more sparse than this does. Outer Worlds was, and that's kind of the nature of space a little bit as well, is that Starfield had a similar problem where you're like, oh, you land on a planet and then you're in like the place where they set the city up because it's a fucking planet that you can't live on or whatever. And then, it's like outposts, whereas this feels a little bit more like nature is taking over and all that sort of shit. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out, because in a way it feels fun because you know that no matter where you go, your time is going to be respected, but the mystery's not there. It doesn't feel Like it feels like you've wandered 5 minutes down the road. And I wonder, is it just a simple scale thing? Like maybe I'm overthinking it. And if you did stretch out this world more, would it add it, or would it not add anything? Because like at that stage, then you need to involve a lot of mechanics that are different. Like it becomes a bit more survivally, or a bit more about like resource management. And one thing I've noticed in this game, especially coming off playing so much Kingdom Come Deliverance and Stalker, is that I'm not really thinking about my inventory that much. And predominantly this is like a combat focused game. Like they want you fighting people up close and personal. I know you can use the snipers or, all that sort of stuff, and the pistols and stuff, but the distance you're closing is not nearly as much as what it is in these other games. But yeah, I echo what you guys. The combat's fucking great. The combat is like, it kind of makes me feel like why has it taken, like why is it so great? Like why have no other first person games in this ilk felt this crunchy and poppy and I don't know what it is. The whole game of Whole Cloth reminds me a lot weirdly of like Dark Messiah of Might and Magic.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of in your face and has that physicsy fun, I guess, when you get the killing blow and things like that. But yeah, how much more complicated does it get? Because can I ask you guys a question actually? Is there one of the things that's annoying me a bit is I often want to like actually use more than 2 sets of weapons. Like I use the grimoire and the wand a bunch, but then I have my sword and my shield and the other sort of alt. You click alt to flip them. But often I want to bring out like a crossbow or a sharpshooter, and I'm going into my inventory to do that. Am I a fucking idiot? Is there another way to like hot swap between weapons?
No, it's just whatever you've got in your 2 equipment slots, but you don't have to use a wand with the grimoire. Like you could use a pistol with the grimoire. Nothing's stopping you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could totally switch up your combos. If you want to have a pistol with your sword, or you want to, like for a while I was using a grimoire and a dagger because I thought it'd be cool. And then I was like, no, 2 daggers is way cooler. You just like
2 daggers?
Yes, it's so much fun. That is the thing that made me go, I like this game. Because the grimoires I was cool with, the fire was like whatever, like you zap them. I've played one of those before. But man, 2 daggers, the character I'm playing where you could just like go stealth and just walk up and just everybody, and I got this ability where I slide and knock people on the ground. So I'm fighting like not endgame, but like hard bosses, and I knock them down and and they're like, get him, good job. Kai's like, you're the best, way to get him. So
that's awful. That's like a crime. When you see
I know, right? I feel like a monster.
Fucking videos of somebody getting stabbed and it's just like that's fucking.
But given those characters in this story, they deserve it.
Killing people in this game feels fucking momentous because you spend so much time killing little fucking lizard weirdos and wizard weirdos too as well, and fucking wraiths and stuff. Yeah, fucking art style. It's just like bananas good. Like way, and I like Outer Wilds. But you can tell how like, did I do it again?
I think you did it again.
Worlds.
Yeah, you said it so confidently. Like, I like Outer Wilds.
It's that thing where in your brain you're like, I'm not going to say the wrong one. I'm going to say the other one, but then you recompensate like a third time back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Yeah, I'm going to say the wrong curse word or something. The Outer Worlds.
Nailed it.
We got it. But like this game looks a head and shoulders above everything done. Performance wise, I actually am very impressed with it as well. Are you guys playing PC or console?
Series X for me. Frank?
I'm PC. I've had some performance issues on PC, but my PC's from 6 years ago, so I don't know.
I'm playing on PC and I've had a little bit of pulled down some stuff for frame rate in the cities and things. But yeah, it feels good as a PC game. I was worried because when I saw the combat, it felt clunky, or chunky in a way that I was like, oh, should I be playing this with a controller or something? But I've been doing mouse and keyboard and it feels really cool. So I've been happy with that as well. I'm enjoying it. I think I echo everything you guys said. It sounds sort of on the ball for me. It's very it feels different to, it's not like wondrous. It's not breaking a lot of new ground necessarily. Like when I play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I feel like I'm playing something kind of new. But in terms of polish, like this feels so polished, like beyond most games like this. Like you put this next to Starfield, and you're talking about totally different scales of game. And obviously, this game doesn't do a lot of things like having every object be physics based and blah blah. There's systemically a lot of stuff that this game is like reining itself in. But it has that pillar. I'm going to do the fucking other one now by accident. It has the Pillars of Eternity.
Yes.
Thank you. Not Path of Exile. Pillars of Eternity. Just think about the pillars. They're right. They're in the game. The fucking pillars are there. Pillars of Eternity, obviously it has all that lore stuff, but it also has like the storytelling chops of that, which feels really chunky and good. And I think it was Frank mentioned World of Warcraft at one stage. Yeah. I am having such a weird WoW feeling with this game as well. Like, I think it's the color palette and the animation. Because like even I guess because these characters, because you're doing like combat that's sort of somewhat timing based in a way, like they're over animating a lot, and like they do in WoW. You know, when you get hit by like a fucking raptor and Stranglethorn in WoW, it's like da, 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 and then it winds up and does its hit. You can kind of tell it's coming. Yeah, it has that sort of. And maybe it just looks like Stranglethorn Veil. Maybe that's the thing. I also wonder how much, like, just thinking about their old games, like, obviously they're pulling a lot from PoE on this one. I'll just go with PoE. But obviously grounded as well because of all this overgrown fucking plant life shit. Like, they've spent years making this game where you're, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of situation. So, it's really, I feel in a way like it's a real... it's an exciting, like, this is where Obsidian are now. This is cool. Like, they've really, it's so polished and cool. And yeah, hopefully they're making more of these things. I know there's no shortage of first person RPGs at the moment, but hopefully they're making some more fucking
for sure
cool shit. Cool shit.
It's an interesting question you bring up about the level design thing, how dense everything is, and whether if you took that world and just sort of like pulled and stretched it in certain areas, I wonder to what extent, like, is there a breaking point where it becomes ridiculous? Or I wonder if just like a little bit of that would have made it feel sort of more New Vegas adjacent. Yeah, right. That's what I'm trying to sort of figure out. Like, the other thing as well is that, like, it almost has like, this is going to, I feel like I'm criticizing this game for doing something really well, but I'm just interested, I guess, because I'm not a level designer, but like, it almost has a lot of, when you're in the Disney, you're in a park, fucking Disney are really getting their money's worth this week. When you walk in and like everything's framed really well. Yeah. And it feels really curated. Like almost every viewpoint in this game feels curated. The paths feel very, I'm not sure if it's video gamey is the word I'm looking for or something, but it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like wild. It's more like theme parky. Yeah. Yeah. And it's gorgeous. And I think that's one of the things where, I'm saying that on one hand, and then the other hand, I'm saying, oh my God, the art style is amazing. And you guys said the same thing last week, talking about how beautiful the game is, and it gives you all these beautiful vistas. So I don't know how you have both, but yeah, there's something about it that where I always feel like, and I guess it's the other thing of like, look, there's one way into this area. There's one way out of this area. It spits you back out near a fast travel marker. Like, it is more curated and smaller. It's funny how we miss something there though, don't we? It's kind of like it feels a little bit like, I wish there was a bit more mystery or a bit more adventure. It feels less like you're discovering it and more like you're discovering something you were bound to eventually anyway, right? Like you stumble upon it and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, there was no other way I could have got it. Like the lake I was talking about is surrounded by rocks and there's only one entrance, which is like cool, I guess, visually, but it, like everywhere I went in Avowed, I was like, I was going to end up here somehow. Like, I couldn't not see it. Like, it's cool. It's great. Like, I have no problem with that, but I can totally see the complaint of like, there's no self-discovery. It kind of just feels like I looked and I saw the big sign that said there's something over here. Come check it out. And I went and checked it out and it was cool. The one thing I will say, what you guys are saying about making the map a little bit bigger, if they had sort of stretched out what they have now, I don't know necessarily if that would have made it feel any better, because the way they've designed the game is if you're exploring, and I've done a ton of exploring in the first two areas, there's a lot of stuff to find in a way that feels sort of like not satisfying. Like, there's a lot of chests everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's like you're incentivized to explore in this way where sometimes you'll find something cool and interesting, a side quest. Most of the time, it's just a chest with some stuff. And I don't
necessarily think that's engaging. I'm not doing that and like excited about it. It's like playing Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. You finish these really hard challenges, and then at the end of it, there's a chest with a shirt in it. I'm like, you don't just give me something else.
like
Give me like
Monkey
a
Island.
coin.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting sort of like pacing design puzzle where just making a world bigger does not create the sense of a grand adventure, but there are sort of like subtler ways around. Because like, here's the thing: is when you go wander in the woods, it's not like you're finding something every minute or two. You're not like, oh my god, a lost treasure chest. Oh my god, a skeleton. Like there
The
are
Turin Shroud. Wow.
I can't believe Jesus died in my backyard. But there are sort of like long stretches of quiet, and then when you find something, it feels more profound. And I think that there are certain games that capture that feeling, but I think like Breath of the Wild is a game that I really like, but it sort of had that problem too, Jesse.
Yes,
where
totally.
by the end, I was like, "Oh, great, another fucking Boko Goblin part or whatever."
Yeah. Oh, there's 6 blocks stacked next to each other. I wonder if there's a
I
thing
wonder what
here.
the fuck I do with this. But I feel like there's a sort of like a subtler way of rewarding the player where you have these expanses and sort of the pace break isn't just another dungeon with another chest. It's like, a one-off, like a weird one-off asset, like an obelisk on a hill that sort of like implies lore or just does a little bit of like light touch storytelling. I feel like you can do atmospheric things to do pace breaking. And it does feel like in Avowed, as beautiful as it is and curated, it does feel like a lot of what I've been finding so far is like, little dungeons that feel kind of like they're.
There are some of
reward
those. If you're Messy Verno, especially, like if you go out into the wilderness to the north of the main city, there's so many little things of like there's a house that has it looks like they're just storing stuff, but eventually you find a room that has interesting stuff in it, or like there's different parts of the areas that have little tents and people holding stuff, or there's like a painter that you learn about eventually, and you can find where his stuff is, and it's like there's little tiny moments like that, but you really, really have to hunt for them in this way that I don't think most players are going to. They're going to end up looking for the stuff that is signposted, going there, seeing something interesting and leaving, not realizing that if they jump on this house and do a little parkour, which this game has a surprising amount of, and it's quite fun, there's something there to see, but you have to really look for it.
I hate, like, the thing I dislike the most is when we have these games that are really, really good, and then the one thing that we feel like is like a little bit, but it's just the way of these things, right? Because it's such a well put together. Like the combat's great, the art design's gorgeous, the writing is. I'm with you, Jesse. The main story is kind of enough for me at the moment to just get me introduced to these interesting like side quests and I don't know what you call like segments of the main quest that are interesting in their own right. Like that's good enough for me. I think maybe the thing I'm feeling is, and it's funny because while you're talking about both Stalker 2 and Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance are like two different versions of, like Stalker 2 is the most like just fucking good luck motherfucker. Like here's an open map. We're going to basically let you do as much of it as possible. You're not going to be able to get into any of this shit because it's going to be radioactive or weird, but knock yourself out. And obviously it's probably I enjoy all those games. It's probably the least sticky of the three of them. Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance is fucking amazing. It is like that feeling you get in New Vegas and Skyrim in those games. It's that turned up to fucking 20. I've never played anything like it. Like it's fucking amazing walking through boring forests and then never seeing anything. And then it's just the human scale nature of that game is really fucking superb. Whereas this, I think like there's been so many quests I've had where it's clearly there's been one way in and one way out, and it's been curated that way. And I wonder, I wonder how many people they had on the Pillars of Eternity team working on that, because it's almost like they've taken level design from those games, which are these sort of like either explicit dungeons or just like dungeon-like environments where it's like, oh, there's, a way in and here you'll meet this person and then do this. I wonder if it's more of a first-person PoE game than I realize, maybe. I'm not sure. Because it doesn't really feel exactly like the Outer Worlds.
Nailed it.
Weirdly, it felt not very dense, but it felt more like what we're talking about, that New Vegas open world you can kind of than this does even a bit. Like this feels so much more curated and beautiful and interesting and and theme park like. And look, I'm only in the first area, so I don't know. But
I know you dropped out of listening to the podcast last week to avoid spoilers, so I don't know if you heard me say this, but I was saying last week that it reminded me density and scale wise of a lot of Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, 100%. I didn't hear you say that, but I was thinking that on the yesterday as well. I was like, oh, this 100% with that whole quest thing as well.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think the perspective changes a lot. Like, say those densities are sort of relatively comparable. Obviously not 1-to-1, but like in the same ballpark. It's interesting how the perspective of Baldur's Gate being more of like a CRPG perspective, it carves up the world in a way that all of them feel like individual set pieces. Whereas when you're running first person between them, it does feel very like... there's this sort of like exhausting pace to Avowed. Again, I'm not criticizing it for doing this. It's a very sort of like fun and frenetic and like, holy shit, another combat arena. Like it's getting you into the action quickly. But I was wiping sweat from my forehead. Like, Jesus Christ, I gotta fucking bring my gun and my book over here now and kill all these fuckers.
Yeah, there's a weird thing where you're playing a game like that with the top down or isometric perspective. There's a sense of presence there because you're looking at what's happening here. Whereas in first person games, because you're always looking straight ahead, you're always looking at what's coming next. Like you can see like in Baldur's Gate 3, the imagined world is fucking massive because you're not looking outward at it all the time, you know what I mean? Whereas in these games, you're constant, it needs to present to you this massive world, and then of course it's on a fucking, it has to be on a fucking island, otherwise how are we gonna, hem you in, or how are we gonna, let's put a mountain there and you feel that scale, whereas in Baldur's Gate 3, you don't necessarily, because you're just imagining how it could be infinitely big, and this dense. This density of this area, it's going to be like that everywhere. If you could go everywhere, whereas in these you don't. And the other thing that's obviously needs to be considered here is that we don't want developers. We don't want games made by 1,000 people. We don't want games where people crunch. Like there is an economy of design here that is clearly, based on not overextending the game, and in so doing not overextending the team, which I think. We've been to Obsidian a bunch of times. People seem to really like it there. They have long tenures, kind of like they did at Bethesda back when we did that stuff. And I think a large part of that is probably they get games out, and they get games out that are good, and they take care of their people. And yeah, I'll take that over, people fucking killing themselves over something, and then you get this kind of half broken big thing,
Well, it would be worth it if I could stab the fruit in Avowed and then it all rolls around on the ground. Then the game would be good.
If I could kill the NPCs, then a little labor issues might be. I'm obviously good.
Avowed. It's good times. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna play a lot of this game. I'm fucked, man. It's like the end of February, and I have so many of these big RPGs to play. I don't know what the fuck to do. Speaking of big ass videos to play that are set on islands, Frank, how are you enjoying your time in Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii?
It's great. It's so weird because I just finished the platinum of Infinite
Jesus, that
Wealth.
was fast.
No, although I'm 29% with trophies of this one, but
Jesus.
I got the platinum of Infinite Wealth back in December, so it was so weird, almost nauseating for a second to open up the game and be like, oh God, wait. But the benefit is I know the map 100%. But what's cool about Pirate Yakuza is half of the game is all new content. So it's the setup of this game is Majima has amnesia. He wakes up on an island, but it's not Hawaii. It's a pirate island. And you befriend a boy who wants to be a treasure hunter, and his dad was a former treasure hunter. And so you gather a group of pirates, and you have your pirate ship. Before you set sail to Hawaii, you find out there's a pirate island known as Madlantis. And it's kind of
Atlantis.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's kind of it's like the pirate version of Kamurocho. So it's there's pretty ladies, there's vice and treachery and bad guys you got to beat up. And there's also Hawaii you got to go to too, because there's also pirates on Hawaii that you got to beat up.
But Hawaii is contemporary, normal Hawaii.
Yeah. So it's like when you're in the pirate world, you can change your costume to be full on pirate, and then when you're in the Hawaii, it's your standard thing, but you can customize all your outfits. So I just put a Hawaiian shirt and a black hat, so he looks like me. But it's really fantastic. This game is the same scale when they put out like what is it like a Dragon, Yakuza Gaiden, The Man with No Name, that really weird like where Kiryu's a secret agent like 2 years ago, and that was a game you could beat in like 20 hours. This is kind of like this where it's like okay, it's not Infinite Wealth, it's not a 100-hour game. I think I saw someone on Steam 100% it in like 36 hours or something, so it's way more manageable. But yeah, it's just nonstop fun. Like any Yakuza game, it took me about like 3 hours to get to the point where it's like, okay, here's like everything is pretty much unlocked to go nuts with all these activities and everything. But the first like 3 hours, it's pretty fast at like cutscene combat, like it's pushing you through. It's not too overwhelmingly cutscene. Like it has a pretty good pace with it. Yeah, it's very, very like the tone, like all the Yakuza games are silly. This is so silly, almost to the point of like, this almost feels like they're Saints Row. It's just so ridiculous, but it's still like great. It's not like too much. It's awesome. And so like there's, again, this is now back to the beat 'em up. What I really like about the beat 'em up thing is getting in and out of fights is so fast and easy. Like I really liked Infinite Wealth and the JRPG stuff, but like any JRPG, sometimes like turn-based battle stuff can just be like, all right, it kind of takes a little bit too long. Whereas this is very fast and easy. It kind of has like a Devil May Cry energy where you can switch fighting styles. You can even like launch people up in the air and juggle them. And so it's just very dynamic. You get pirate abilities. You can get like a grapple hook, so you can do scorpion crap.
What game is it most like in the Yakuza series?
I would say
the combat stuff.
Yeah, like the contemporary, like Kiwami 2 or whatever. Okay. Like it is like the beat 'em up stuff. But you have all these extra abilities. You can use your musket. You can use a grappling hook. You can throw your boomerang swords. So it's just very fast and ridiculous. And then there's also pirate ship combat. So you can go treasure hunting and you're beating up pirate gangs. So it's almost like Wind Waker where you're sailing across the ocean and you're using your I don't know pirate terms, your cannons and machine guns. You can use rocket launchers. There's so much stuff beyond just
classic pirate stuff, rocket launchers and boomerangs.
Yeah, more than just base pirate stuff. So it's so ridiculous. And
where are they trimming out the fat then? Is it less side quest stuff?
So I would say like the story stuff doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's just here's a bad pirate gang, go beat up these bad guys, unite the good pirates, take care of the bad pirates.
So it's kind of quick. The story is,
and it's lots of fights, and the core of it's like you're recruiting shipmates, so you got to do these side quests, help these people to get more shipmates so you can fight the bigger pirate gang. And the side stuff in this here is like there is the Mario Kart, the Dragon Kart thing in this game where you're riding around Hawaiian tracks. There is like a bounty system where you're beating up different gangs. There's pirate ship combat. There's a pirate coliseum, and then just any dating stuff or
the fucking chin Pokemon thing, whatever that was again.
There's no Pokemon stuff in this one. I heard there is a dating stuff, and I think it is like full motion video stuff. But I haven't gotten there yet. I'm almost kind of sprinting to the story to get to that part.
Peach Milky's got a fucking hook for hands in this one.
I don't know who's in it, but I can't wait to get. There's a whole trophy for it. So I think in this one, you're Majima. You're not trying to date girls, but you're helping a friend find like the one he loves, and so. I think I'm assuming it's very, very silly, but the game is fantastic. It's so fun. It's very, very silly. Again, very much reminds me of Saints Row. Just like, and you can customize everything. You can customize how you look. You can customize your pirates. You can customize your pirate ship. Like, it's just very, very ridiculous. And like, again, they keep getting better at these games, even with this one, because they're reusing the Waikiki beach. It's like now they've taken it and just filled it with more Easter eggs. There's even some verticality. You get like a grappling hook. So there's secret areas that you can like grapple hook up to and look for treasure and stuff. So
they got Spider-Man and Yakuza now?
Yeah, you have like you can use a grapple hook and you can pull people towards you and stuff like that. So it's just like it's very ridiculous and very, very fun.
Are the what do they call those fucking little things you can stand on again?
Segways.
Segways. Are they back?
Yeah, segways are back in it.
You got a little parrot on top
of your
Segway.
Is it a pirate-themed one? It's made out of wood?
Yeah. You can customize. I haven't customized mine yet, but you can customize it.
I'm just impressed that Frank heard those little things you stand on and he knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
He's fucking...
That could have been anything.
He's dialed in, man.
Yeah.
He lives in that world. He's a pirate Yakuza. Are the baby men in it? Have you seen the baby men?
Man, you know what? No, but there's always a side quest. There's always a side quest. So.
Any large, any Rumbas?
Oh man, no. There's a different. You find a scientist guy in that one, but there's a different one there. Yeah, there's a. Yeah.
Is that weird guy from the tourist board around?
Yeah, Aloha Owl or
Aloha,
something like
yeah.
yeah. You run into him quickly.
Shit.
Does this have something that I really like about the Yakuza franchise, especially with Majima related stuff, is that Majima is such a bombastic character that people who have kind of like dabbled in Yakuza are like, oh, he's just like this over the top sort of violent jester clown character.
Like you're playing as the Joker.
Right, but he's got like such a profound depth to him, and I feel like if there's any of that, it would stand out so much more against the background radiation of fucking like pirates in Hawaii. Are there any sort of like more little sincere, reflective Majima moments yet?
Well, the whole game you're paired along with this like little kid, and so Majima like Majima is like giving him genuine advice, like kid, like so it's like, and it plays the cheesy music, the dun 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 dun. And
That's when I cry every time.
Yeah, and Majima is much like the Kira, where it's like there's crazy side story stuff, and Majima's like, man, these guys are crazy. Like, let me fix this. So it does the thing where it's like the side quests are so melodramatic and cheesy and funny, and it's just like I don't know. It's like playing these games are my favorite games in the world. So it's like, oh my God, like I will enjoy it until I platinum and finish it. But yeah, it's just it's hitting all the marks for me. And if you didn't play Infinite Wealth, you could dive into this. Like it's I mean, at this point, just play any Yakuza game if you haven't, if you're on the fence, because they're so good. But yeah, this one, I think it doesn't require any of the stacked story stuff. Whereas Infinite Wealth was paying off so like a decade plus of games. Whereas this is just like, it's very, very silly.
In Infinite Wealth's corner as well, I do feel like you can play it without having delved too much. You don't get as much out of it for sure, but that's cool. That's so cool that they do this. Like, I love the like chaser shot shit they're doing here, where like, oh, here's a 100-hour fucking RPG, and then like here's a 30 different pace, different vibe to it. Using the same stuff, it's a good excuse to dive back into the world. It's almost like the way that like 10 years ago this would have been like DLC or something, you know, and now they just spin them out into their own little smaller but worth the sticker price. Is it a full price game as well?
No,
or?
so it's I'm trying to see. So it is $60 compared to $70 for Infinite Wealth. So that's, yeah, 60 on Steam. I got it on PS5, which I think it's also 60. There is like a deluxe edition if you get extra stuff, but
Get more pirate shit.
you get like more crewmates, but you can also do it a la carte. Like if you want I think you get like extra karaoke songs, extra crewmates, but I don't know. You can beat the game without any of the extra stuff.
Is the pirate karaoke like fucking sea shanties and stuff?
There actually is a little musical number that very pirate themed. Yeah, it almost felt like the Muppets. It was like, oh, they're doing this. Oh, this is amazing. This is
Oh my God, they made Muppet Yakuza finally.
Basically, yeah. I was like, this is like very charmed, very
Oh
charmed.
my God.
And then this is the first time I've done it, but it's like every shop will just sell like Sega music. So like when I'm driving my and you can listen to the music in game and like your in-game smartphone. So I have like the Daytona USA theme, like the Daytona as I'm driving my pirate ship, and I'm like, oh, this is
Wow.
perfect. Like
Dude, the whole crew should be singing that song. Like you all joining in.
Yeah, right. Doing
Daytona.
sea shanties. When you on your pirate island, you have a Sega Master System, so it's like the in-game, all the CDs you have are just all this crazy 8-bit Sega music. So it's so funny playing this game, and it's just like nonstop great Sega music. There's like the arcades have Virtua Fighter, and it's just again. Also, what I also like about these games is like it's Yakuza, but there's also a chunk of this game that is also just a love letter to like deep cut Sega stuff. So it's just like, oh my God, it's yeah. And then Wrestler Samoa Joe is one of the pirate.
Oh, you're
kings also.
kidding.
Yeah.
Is he a bad guy or a good guy?
A
bit of both. Okay.
kind of in between. I forget
Okay.
the chaotic neutral. And yeah, he's Polynesian, so it's like they tied him into the story authentically. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm playing in
Joe's
Japanese dub.
second video game
Yeah.
appearance, by the way. He was in the Suicide Squad game as King Shark.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always thought he was a bit of a gamer. I think there was some
Why would you
videos
insult
of him.
Samoa Joe like that?
He also didn't he play Twisted Metal, Ice Cream Man, whatever the guy's, I don't know.
Oh, really?
Sweet
Oh,
Tooth.
is he in that? They're making
Yeah,
a second season of that fucking show.
Jesus.
Isn't that wild? Has anyone watched that? Like, I'm not even talking about us. I'm talking, has anyone watched it?
What is
the
on
fuck?
Where did it get?
What's
Yeah.
it on?
We-
No,
think
it's
so.
on Paramount, right?
We
Yeah,
should do a
that's
podcast.
exactly.
We should do a
Is it
podcast
on-
where we watch
Oh,
that
Jesus
and we
Christ.
play Twisted Metal.
See,
It's a
Twisted
whole-
Metal's cool, but
We'll get
but
David
not-
Jaffe on and talk about it. I'm sure he's got some fucking things to say about that TV show. Yeah, that's a weird. Hey, fair play, Samoa Joe. You're in a real video game now. That's what's going on. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the beautiful pirate time in Hawaii,
Yeah,
gentlemen?
I was curious about the pirate shooting combat, the like ship to ship stuff. Because is that
yeah.
decent, or is that just something you're doing because they make you?
It feels fun, and like I will do the whole thing for it, but it's like I can't think of. I know there was like Sea of Thieves. I haven't. I
Assassin's
never
Creed Black Flag.
I never
Black
played.
Flag,
Yeah, I haven't played Black
You haven't
Flag.
mentioned it this whole
fucking-
time, and I'm like, where?
Yeah.
Damn
I
it.
haven't
To mention nothing of the one they put out last year.
Ship of Bones or no
Skull and Bones.
Skull and
the one
Bones.
that propped up by
That's
a
a
whole
way better
government
title.
Ship of
ship.
Theseus, that game should be
Yeah.
called. It went through like fucking 18 different versions, I think.
Yeah.
I did play the Pirates of the Caribbean game on Xbox 360.
That is not anything we
I know,
mentioned.
I know. But no, the
Wait,
comments.
was that was the one made by fucking Bethesda?
Was it really?
Yeah. That Pirates of the Caribbean game was made by Bethesda.
It can't be better than the Pirates of the Caribbean section in Kingdom Hearts, whichever number.
Oh, it is almost reminds me of the gummy ship when because you can customize your ship and you're traveling between worlds. Kind of feels like flying the gummy.
What
ship.
is the gummy ship?
Dude, and the two little chipmunks talk to you about how you need to hurry the
fuck
hell
are you
up.
talking about?
You don't know the gummy ship from
are you
Kingdom Hearts?
smoking?
Fake fan.
No.
it's like
I'm
you get to
not
make a
a
custom.
fan.
Exactly. No, it's like you get to make a custom ship using shapes. That's it.
Yeah,
Gummies?
Kingdom Hearts also
guess so.
opens with like you're a boy on an island. You wake up with amnesia. Oh my god! Yeah, it's very.
Oh my
it
God.
really does feel like yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
the
Sort of
ship,
Kingdom Hearts like.
the
Majima
ship-
could be in Kingdom Hearts. I could see it.
the ship combat
Yeah.
feels good. It's almost like you're doing drive-bys because it's like you have your cannons on the side.
Saints Row again.
You have your machine guns in front. It's it's
Arr,
really fun.
You're a
And then when
bitch.
the,
You just fucking get them.
when the ship takes enough damage, then you press X and you board the ship, and then you do melee combat on board, and it's
Beautiful.
like
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
it's great. It's great.
That is the way you do that. I feel like we went from having no games that did pirate combat to fucking all of them. And Black Flag as well. Only Assassin's Creed game with an Irish protagonist. Oh,
Really?
there you go. Yeah. We had a lot of pirates were Irish people. We just like to be criminals in the world. Criminals on the sea, criminals on land. Pirate Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I don't know what's going to be game of the year, but I think best named game is already done and dusted. Let me quickly talk about 2 Point Musuem. Have you guys played any of these 2 Point games, or am I the only little weirdo here?
I'm very curious about them. They seem like something I could sink a couple days into, but I've never played them myself.
Yeah, it's a real Anglophile thing, I think, if you're a fan of the old theme park games or theme hospital games, of course, the classic Bullfrog games. And 2 Point Studios, one of the first episodes of this podcast feed I ever did, founded by two of the guys who worked at Bullfrog with Peter Molyneux, and they started off with a game called 2 Point Hospital. It was very much a modern send-up of Theme Hospital. It's really good, very well received. They then went on to do sort of, and this is the way those games work, right? Theme Park came out. It was one of the first of these, management games. Before that, you had a lot of, I think, SimCity, I guess, had done some stuff, but then Roller Coaster Tycoon comes out. You start getting a lot more of these types of games. And what was cool about Theme Park, which comes up a lot in this one, is the Theme Park was about the relationship you have to entertain consumers and how entertained they are. It was very much like people are entering the park, you want to keep them there as long as fucking possible, you want to make as much money off of each of them as possible, and then you want them to get them to fuck off. Theme Hospital was such an interesting sort of play up on this, very British style humor, taking something that's very, very serious and turning it comedic, dark comedy. And what was interesting about 2 Point or Theme Hospital was it was less about milking people. It was more about getting them in and out as quickly as possible. So you want to get someone in who's usually they're coming in because they've got a condition. You're diagnosing the condition, you're fixing it, and you're sending them back out again. When they made the 2 Point Hospital, that was obviously the same type of thing. 2 Point Campus was a sort of a weird version of this, where it was less about. It was definitely not about, your certain amount of like same comedy of like trying to get money out of students thing for sure. But it was more about the sort of ecosystem of the building and how much work was getting done and research and all these things. And it was less obvious, the sort of the loop of it. And it was kind of a bit complicated. I think there was something easy about a theme park. You can grok really easily. There are rides, there are places to eat, there are places to go to the bathroom. It'll get dirty if you don't clean it up. Hospital, similar enough. You go in, you get diagnosed, you get treated, you get out. Campus had sort of different things going on, which I feel like there was an obfuscation there that was maybe not as obvious. It was still a really great game, a lot of fun. This feels like sort of a return, not a return to form, but like a return to something that is more easily understandable in this 2 Point Musuem. This is now a game where you're building a museum. Museum is basically a fucking theme park, right? And that's kind of the funny thing about museums is that like historically museums were these dusty old buildings where, you know, a lot of stuff was and your intellectual would go in and, you know, let's go see all the things in your school tour would bring you there. But of course, increasingly museums have become places that are entertaining. Free daycare, it's something to entertain your kid for a few hours, or if you're a parent like me, or you know, you go to visit a city, and they really do a lot of work these days with modern museums to make them entertaining as well as informative. And so in many ways this feels like running a theme park. You are basically isometric style thing. You're building exhibits in this one. You are trying to make them as interesting as possible by adding sort of flair around them to make them look cool. You're putting in donation boxes. There's still a lot of like the management stuff of your training staff. You got bathrooms. You got you got to like make sure that people exit through the gift shop. You got to do all that sort of same sort of like building the building out and building your staff to accommodate everything. Don't overspend. Train the right people and all that sort of stuff. But the hook of this one is really, really interesting in that like instead of you know unlocking new rides or you know unlocking different diseases by research or different ways of treating diseases rather. In this one, you are sending out people into the world to get the exhibits. So you have like a helicopter in the back and you're basically planning these excursions and training people, and then you send them off and then they're on a ticker, and then sometimes things can go wrong. Like they're off in some desert looking for dinosaur bones and then some shit happens and you have to like go in the menu and intervene and tell them what to do. Some people, they get injured. Sometimes they don't come back with stuff. They come back with the wrong stuff, whatever happens. And then when you get one of those exhibits, then you put it in your building and then you sort of send them out again and then spend time like, okay, how am I going to make this look good and feel good and make sure it like has the flow of the museum. So it's really interesting. It ends up being this like very they put a lot more work into customization in this one, which I feel is almost like the busy work of game dev sometime, where they're like, oh shit, we've got nothing else to do. Let's add customization. Let's add it so like the 5% of freaks who play this game who really give a shit about how the fucking wallpaper looks. Let's like just do something. You know, we've run out of ideas. We got to do something. I've found myself doing way more customization than I thought I would, because you have these moments where you sort of have, you've done a lot, and you've sent in a party out to go grab something, and they're not going to be back for a few minutes. So I'm like, okay, let me fucking, this little ice area I have here with this fucking, you know, frozen fridge or whatever, I'm going to like put in some, you know, coolers here to make sure it's cold enough, and add some little ice flare here, and then put a little donation box here. And, you know, I'm going to change the floor to make it look blue and cold. Like I've actually really enjoyed fucking around with the customization stuff, which they were talking a lot about before the game came out, and I was like, I just thought like, oh, you're just doing that because that's what you got to do, right, when you get to this stage. But it's really cool. I'm putting in staff doors so people can, like, the staff have access into areas that, or quick shortcuts into areas that the punters won't have, as you try and circulate them around and get them to, you know, spend as much money as possible. And it looks fucking great. This is the best looking one. The animation in these games has always been wonderful. The art design has always been very strong. This one, just from a lighting perspective and everything, looks, it's less about making a really, really big thing now. And it feels more about making a very beautiful, curated, clean building.
How minute does the customization get? Like when you're making a wing, I imagine you sort of have a specific set of things you can put in there. You can't put like dinosaur bones in the Qing Dynasty wing. That doesn't really happen. That doesn't make any sense. Or can you? So
you kind of, yeah. So like the way it's weirdly freeform. Like, so it's kind of like the old games where you get like a building at the start. At least you get like a sort of a building interior that is it's entirely open plan, and you can build rooms inside of it. That's how historically they've done it.
Okay. In
this one, you can build rooms, and some of them need to be rooms like bathrooms or training rooms or whatever. But you can build walls, so you can do other things, like you can build, you know, little fences and stuff. You know, those little fucking fences they have at TSA or whatever. You know, those little fucking, I don't know what you call that thing. What do you call that thing? 2 metal bars with a piece of rope.
Oh,
with
the I don't know.
Whatever.
Turnstile, like where people line up.
No, like, yeah.
Oh, just I don't know.
Just the thing, whatever that is. I don't know. Fucking
ropes. I don't know.
Podcast at Noclip, that video. So so you can make like walls basically, and then put doors in those walls as well. So instead of just having the actual defined rooms, you can do that. And secondarily, you can actually like build buildings outside. So you can buy buildings in the old games, and I'm sure you can do that later in this game too, buy extra wings and stuff. But in this one, you can you can build external buildings on the property as well, which is pretty cool. And then ultimately how these things look is kind of down to you. Like when you get like you start off with the dinosaur shit, right? And then eventually you get more things like, I won't say what, but they get pretty bizarre and zany and shit. And then you will unlock a bunch of like secondary flair, I guess I'd call it, to put in that area, and also new wallpapers and new floors. And then that's kind of enough to give you like a really good, like, okay, I'm going to make this area look like this. But you can make it not, and it won't be as good, and the punters won't like it as much, because every time you add a bit of flair, it like there's like a ring of influence around them, and you sort of multiply everything that's around that. So if you have like an area that has like a cool dinosaur in it, and then you add a bunch of their dinosaur shit around it, it like sort of multiplies the excitement and hype around
cool.
the thing. Yeah. So you're really encouraged to actually do it. There's a mechanical reason why you'd want to do it. And then what's also cool is like sometimes you'll go out and you'll find like you'll get the dinosaur at the start, but it won't have a head or a tail. And then you set out an excursion party, they'll come in with like, oh, we got the head now, and they stick the head on it. So sometimes it just adds to one you already have, and then sometimes you get new stuff. And yeah, it's very sharp. If you've liked these games in the past, it's a good one of those. And I think if you've never played one of these, like I would now probably put people on this one, because Hospital's been out a while, and some of the quality of life stuff that's in this, like it's a real third game feel to it. Like they've figured this shit out. And I think the vibe of a museum is actually like fun. It reminds me of theme park. It reminds me of it's the same thing in my head of like punter comes in, they're coming in one way, they're leaving another. How do I milk that fucker for as much money as possible?
It is funny, the theme park comparisons you make, and I'm actually curious about if they do this in museum, because I've gone to the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum, a couple times, and every once in a while they'll have a themed exhibit that doesn't make any sense, but you can tell like, oh, the government needed a little money here. We weren't getting enough donations. The latest one I think was a Harry Potter themed exhibit at a museum. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. They were like, here's the history of all the fantastic beasts.
Oh my God.
Are there any of those in 2 Point Museum where like you're going out and sending for an in-universe branded experience, or are you just going and like pillaging diamonds from?
So this is why people should listen to the patron exclusive version with my wife, because she has played probably fucking 40 or 50 hours of this, I think, already. Wow. They were very nice and sent us 2 codes because they know my wife plays this game. So they were like, there you go. I know you'll get in trouble if you don't get another one for her. So she's played a fucking shit ton of it. So you mentioned in universe. God, there's something I don't want to talk about, but I don't know if they do exactly what you're talking about, but there is a lot of esoteric exhibits that probably shouldn't be in a museum. There's an in-universe product called Cheesy Gubbins in this world, in the 2 Point world.
Now with extra gubbins.
It's like a cheesy snack that English people are very good at like knowing what they're silly and embarrassing about. And this is a very like a What's It or like a Cheese Moments is like this weird little thing you get in some pubs in the UK and Ireland, they're awful cheese moments. Made by the people who make bacon fries, if you've never had them, because everyone knows about bacon fries in the UK and Ireland, or scampi fries. And they are, so you have like vending machines for Cheesy Gubbins around. And the radio plays in these games, they have like a radio person kind of thing who comes on and talks about the new museum, blah, blah, blah. And they'll do ads for Cheesy Gubbins and shit. There is a Cheesy Gubbins thing that appears in the museum as an exhibit that is out of this world, shall we say. Awesome. Which is quite interesting. So yeah, it does a lot of like, and it's just stupid. Like one of the fucking exhibits you get at the start is like a fucking fossil of a floppy disk. You know what I mean? Like this game it's pantomime. It's silly, and it's like, well, and there's different punters, right? There's like kids and professors and like human, like all the different like types of archetypes of customers you might have. I've also seen goths and yetis, so like it's that type of You know,
Goths.
they all have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Goths are like not interested in anything, and you know you have to work hard to. So it's a good time. It's a good one of those games. They did a good job. I'm wondering how it's reviewing. I'm guessing kind of strong. I've not had a look anywhere. I wonder if Our Games has a thing up on it.
While you're hunting, those things that separate and make lines in the airport are called stanchions.
Stanchions, is that the word I'd use? Thank you for looking it up.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty good. Open Critic has it at 81 at the moment after 9 reviews. Got a 9 from IGN, it looks like.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, 9s, 5 out of 5, 8 out of 10 from IGN Germany. I think regular IGN had it higher. So yeah, it's doing well. People seem to be down into it. Did you guys notice the Team Fortress stuff that happened as well?
Yeah, they did some big update and made it source whatever you could like.
They
edit
did.
it, but now they had the
released
classic
source.
version.
Yeah, I just noticed the classic thing which is happening. I did not know about this. Is this official or this is unofficial? Is it?
Is it okay?
I don't know if it is. Let me click on it and see if it says. Yeah, it's unofficial.
All right.
Team
That's still
Fortress 2
cool.
Classic from Eminoa. Yeah, they released the source code. So a bunch of those Team Fortress. There's been a bunch of Team Fortress 2 fan versions that have been out that have been using a leaked version of the source code that goes back a number of years. And Valve asked them to stop doing it, I think, a couple of years ago, but then didn't release the source code until just recently. But I don't think people knew they were going to release the source code, so that's pretty cool that they did that. Pretty dope. Anyway, sorry, I just got lost.
Sorry,
on
before we
Reddit
move
for a
on to
second.
anything remotely interesting to the full team, because we all prepared stuff, I hate to news post, but Jason
Okay.
Schreier, breaking. Warner Bros. Games is shutting down Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Bros. San Diego. The Wonder Woman game has been canceled.
Monolith is shut down?
Shutting down Monolith Productions, as per Jason Schreier.
Fuck.
Yep, that's
Oh,
frustrating as hell.
man. Oh shit, that's an old timer.
Yeah, that's like, why would you? Why? I'm like, I'm stunned. I cannot believe that. I mean, I
what
can
were they
given
working
the
on? I knew
trajectory
they were-
of that publisher, but
So they were on Wonder Woman. They've not released anything since the second
Since Shadow
Middle
of
Earth
War,
game,
yeah.
right? Which is a fucking while ago now.
2017.
Yeah, God, I was the last year I was at GameSpot. Jeremy, I think I might have been remember we got Shadow of Mordor got Game of the Year that year in 2014.
Oh yeah.
Which was the last year I was there, I think. Michael, what was his name? Michael DePlatter, I believe his name is the designer. Yeah. Fuck, man. So Monolith. Oh, geez. Yeah. I mean, fuck. We've been talking to people at Monolith forever about. There was one of our patrons. I hope she's all right now. She was in our Patreon for years. Frank, were you setting us up? I forget. Somebody
I remember getting a message about that
was in
forever
those.
ago.
Yeah. And we were talking about doing something eventually because they're based up in Kirkland, right beside, like we're close to where Valve is. And I was remembering, fuck, we should definitely do something because they obviously did fucking Blood back in the day. That was their first game. Fear, Condemned, Alien vs Predator 2. They did. I think the first one was done with Rebellion in the UK.
They also did Shogo Mobile Armor
yes,
Division, which
Mobile
is
Armor Division.
like the most anime game made by an American studio.
Did they make
the Matrix
No One Lives
Online.
Forever? Was that them too?
They did 2, I think. Did they do 1? No, they did do 1. You're right. Yeah, sorry. You're right. They did No One Lives Forever as well. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an all-timer. Fear. First Encounter Assault Recon.
The two good
Oh,
ones.
man. Fuck. I mean, we have to do it now. That's like gotta hunt down some of these fucking people. That's awful.
Yeah.
So they were working on this fucking Wonder Woman game for God knows how long.
Yeah, them, and it looks like Player First, the other studio, was working on that as well.
I don't know who they are. Were they set up?
Maybe. Or was that no. Is that Multiverses? Player First? Yeah.
Which also is Multiverse still up?
I think that one came out in beta, closed,
that's
came
what
back,
happened.
and closed.
Oh, it closed again, did it? I remember they
so-
came back, yeah. Fuck. And what was the other one? Monolith? No, who? Warner Bros. San
WB
Diego?
San Diego, yeah.
I wonder was that technological group? I don't know. Warner Bros. San Diego. Oh boy. Well, the bingo fucking card is
Yeah, it's
the center square is. Yeah, I see Shire there. San Diego Player First. Oh, that's so sad. Fuck.
Sorry to bring the mood down, but
No,
I saw
I'm
that. I
glad
was
you
like, that's
mentioned
huge.
it. Yeah.
God.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, our thoughts with all the folks that affected by this. Hope Jason's wrong, but he rarely is. He wouldn't report on something like this if he wasn't sure, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Monolith, man. Fuck.
Yeah, what a hit.
What a great run. Almost 30 years since Blood came out. So presumably 30 years since they started working on it. Something like that. Man, oh man. I give Blood a lot of shit. I like to piss off Dave Oshry about it. But yeah, he'll be on Twitter raging about this as well, I'm sure.
Is New Blood a reference to the game Blood?
I never thought about that before.
I never thought about
Well,
that.
if he likes
until
it
this
so
moment.
much, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It's the
Yeah,
new
maybe.
Blood. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what'll happen with all that. Jesus. Because Night Dive as well. I know Steven is a big fan of Blood as well. Steven's probably the one to actually take rib on more about that one. Yeah, Matrix Online, of course, Frank Howley's favorite game.
Who doesn't?
Did you guys
love it?
play Condemned much? They were fun games.
Yeah, I played that as a kid when I shouldn't have been. It was
Oh man,
scary.
I mean, I was a teenager and it was still fucking terrifying. I think I was like 18, 19 when that came out. Condemned came out in 2005, so I was 19. Man. All right. Well, I'll be honest, I'm not massively. I don't know how I wasn't overly excited about the Wonder Woman thing.
Sure.
It was kind of
Yeah. Who really? Oh.
yeah. Like I hope it's cool.
Yeah.
But okay. I'm not a big superhero person. It's not necessarily that I have a problem with Wonder Woman in particular. Except
It probably would have been great.
Movies.
I mean, I didn't care about a Lord of the Rings game, and then they made Shadow of War and
That's a very good point.
great games.
Guardians of Middle-earth, Gotham City Imposters. I remember playing a bunch of that actually.
Yeah. A surprisingly fun multiplayer shooter
Yeah,
from
it
a
was.
studio that doesn't
Was it
normally
free to
make
play?
those. Or no, I guess they do. I think so, yeah. I don't remember spending any money on my ugly Joker custom character.
Fuck. All right. Okay. To be continued. We'll follow up on that. Yeah. Obviously, now is not necessarily the time. Look, let's have the little sad section, I guess, now that we're in it as well. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, but of course, a lot of people will also know that Viktor Antonov, the art director of Half-Life 2, creator of City 17 and Dunwall and the Dishonored games and much more, passed away 2 weeks ago now, I think it is. Or a week ago, I think the news came out. Passed away at the age of 52. We obviously interviewed him. I think we were the last people to interview him for the Half-Life 2 documentary back in. His was late. I think Ole went to Paris to do it, and I think it was late October. He was one of the last ones we got in, because we were trying to see if he could come to Seattle, and then he couldn't. And then I was going to go to France, and then I couldn't. And then Ole went and shot it, and I did the interview remotely. Super lovely gentleman, really nice guy, like off camera, really sweet. He gave Ole a bunch of tours of Paris for the doc. We opened the doc with him because he was such a monumental piece of the puzzle. One of these people who, we interview a lot of people doing this type of work, and you can tell when it's someone special. People's faces light up when they talk about him, and I'm not just saying platitudes because there's a person who's dead. Like genuinely, everyone was like, oh, is Viktor going to be involved? Like they were excited to hear when he was down to do it. I talked to a lot of his ex-colleagues on the art team and the wider team about him, and they were really enthused. I've since talked to some of them privately about it as well, and they're obviously all very heartbroken about it. So our thoughts go out to the friends and family of Viktor Antonov. What a run. What great games. He didn't have the most busiest resume, but what he worked on, like you can see the depth of influence that it had, like from City 17 and Dunwall, obviously, and he worked a bunch on a bunch of other games prior to that. And it came up in our interview we did with him was obviously much longer than the Half-Life 2 doc. We interviewed 30 fucking people, so like everyone got like 5 minutes max, right? Because it's like a 2-hour doc. But I talked to him about his first ever game he worked on, which was when he was working in VFX in LA. He actually went to a design school that was founded by Ford. He did like design on cars and industry and buildings, train stations, things like that. He actually was educated in that form of design, and not necessarily architecture, but sort of in part of it. And he was working in car stuff. And then one of his friends had to, I think, was leaving the Redneck Rampage team and was like, "Can you fill in for me?" And that's how he broke into the games industry. And then the funniest part of our interview, and we didn't get it in the doc, is that the next game he worked on is one of my favorite games, Kingpin Life of Crime by Zatrix, the ridiculous, I don't even know what era that game was meant to take place in. But the funniest part about it was he said it was one of the only games that was set in a contemporary city, that he was part of designing this contemporary city for this game. And that was the reason Valve wanted to fucking hire him, was because of Kingpin Life of Crime. This like super D student from the world of first person shooters that I like just because it's so esoteric and weird and it has a fucking really cool Cypress Hill soundtrack. And that was the game that this sophisticated Bulgarian French living art director living in LA managed to get out to get him into the industry. So fascinating gentleman, interesting life, and he leaves us with a lot of fantastic games. And we thank him for his work, and our thoughts go out to his friends and family as well. Okay, we have some more games to talk about here. It looks like some sort of festival is occurring. Judging by the names of these games, gentlemen, and the word demo, are we having a Next Fest? Is there a Next Fest going on?
It's Next Fest season.
Okay, let's get to let's play fucking Next Fest tennis. Jeremy and Jesse, pick a number between 1 and 10. Jeremy.
7.
Oh,
Jesse, go.
6.
Jeremy.
4.
Jesse.
2.
Jeremy.
3.
Jesse.
10.
Jeremy.
8.
Jesse.
9.
Jeremy, how has this happened?
2.
Jesse.
No, I 2'd already. 1. Are we have? No, it's the giant bomb clip all over again.
Jeremy.
It's 10.
It's not.
No, I already
He
10.
said 10. Jeremy said 10. Jesse said 10.
I wasn't paying that close attention because I thought we'd get it by now.
3?
4.
I'm just going to go free for all.
5.
Yay!
I swear someone said 5.
Nobody said 5.
Unbelievable.
It's the number between 1 and 10. It was a trick question.
Oh shit.
Pick a number. Oh, incredible. Okay, Jeremy, you go first. It looks like we got about 6 or so of these, so let's go back and forth. Jeremy, why don't you go one of your favorite Next Festival demos?
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into it, I was thinking about, you remember X-Play on G4 back in the day?
Of course, yes. Lots of politically incorrect comedy.
Yeah, so I'm glad you bring that up. I was thinking about if they did like an X-Play segment on Next Fest, how they would sometimes have sort of like in poor taste segues into stuff.
Yes.
And I was thinking about Steam Next Fest last night, and I was picturing Morgan Webb being like...
In blackface?
No, not that far. But I was picturing Morgan Webb being like, when Adam first told me about this next segment, I thought he was saying we'd have a steamy sex fest. And then she'd say a punch on that and be like, what am I going to do with all these condoms? It's Steam Next Fest. And then the other one was Adam Sessler would be like... Morgan told me about this next segment, and I thought she was saying to scream sex pest. I thought maybe Harvey Weinstein was trying to break into the building. It's Steam Next Fest.
Brilliant.
So,
both of them are fantastic.
those are my
I'm
two
not sure which is my
X-Play
favorite.
transitions into
love
the
it.
next segment.
Weinstein wouldn't have been a contemporary sex pest.
No, I know.
So-
I couldn't think of a
who was it?
2004 sex fest.
Cosby was pre-Cosby.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't pre.
Woody Allen, maybe.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
Woody Allen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was an anachronistic X-Play joke. That was like if X-Play was doing the same humor, but in 2025.
Wait, R. Kelly. They would have totally done R. Kelly.
Yeah, there you go.
That would have
That's
been
a good
perfect for
Was
the era.
he? Was he? No, he wasn't then. Was he?
Wasn't he?
Was he?
Wasn't it like mid 2000s?
I don't think so.
He wasn't
Might be
around
cut.
for a while.
No, I don't know.
Feels like a lot of these motherfuckers got away with it for a long time, and then there was some sort of reckoning.
Yeah, weird.
It does feel like that. Anyway, I wanted to share that segment. Poorly timed after such a sincere segment, but I couldn't let it slip through my fingers after.
It was beautiful. What
Thank you.
wonderful game gets to follow that?
Okay, let's get into Steam Next Fest after those beautiful transitions. Thanks, Morgan and Adam. Let's start off with Advent Neon. Let me pull this game up so I can make sure I
Okay.
credit the person who made it.
Advent Neon, one word.
Yes.
Oh no, it's not. It's 2 words, but the
Oh.
neon is capitalized and it has
Oh,
a
yeah,
registered trademark behind it for some reason.
Yeah, in my head there was no space there. So Advent Neon, this is a God, what is this? It's a 2D platformer. It at first blush reminded me of sort of like Pizza Tower and Sonic. It's sort of a very fast, momentum-based platformer. I never really clicked that much with Sonic or Pizza Tower. They're both games that I sort of like respect and appreciate, but never really clicked with gameplay-wise. I feel like this solves the puzzle on momentum-based platformers for me, because this is a very fast, frenetic, like moving very quickly on the screen game, but it is also a like beat 'em up, hit stopping, juggling enemies, beating the shit out of people game. And again, not a genre that I'm super into. I don't really like juggling enemies. I don't really play like Devil May Cry. So these are like sort of two genre references that would not sell me on a game if I had heard them in isolation. But I feel like what this game does is it has the feeling of like Mega Man almost or something. It's like
kind of looks it too. The graphics are very interesting. It's like I was about to say like Newgrounds, but that's derivative in a way that's not fair. It definitely has an Xbox 360 kind of look to it or something.
Yeah, this would be a great Xbox 360 arcade game. So it's got a lot of really interesting things going for it. It's got this sort of like you can sort of like spam the basic punch, and then based on whether you're jumping or on the ground or moving left, right, up, down, it's got this sort of directional thing that triggers a bunch of different moves. But it's this ridiculously fluid combat system, and the sort of push pull that I thought was really interesting about it is it's got this it's got like a 2-charge sort of stamina system, and the charges are good for both your dash and your big heavy attack, and the heavy attack and the dash are both sort of alternate ways to deal with incoming damage. If someone's about to do a big punch on you, you can do a big punch back, and they like Dragon Ball Z cancel each other out. Or if there's a projectile or a punch or whatever coming at you and you dash through it, everything kind of freezes for a second, and you get super bonus damage on a lot of enemies. So this is like a Nine Souls, but really, really fast and frenetic, and sort of like a cartoonish version of sort of that parry-based 2D platformer combat. So yeah, I really, really like this, and the Mega Man homage goes deeper. Like the end of the demo, you get to a boss, and it's got the Mega Man sort of like airlock doors. But I love this. I had so much fun playing this.
Advent Neon. Links to all these will be in the description, thanks to the wonderful Jesse Karasha. Jesse, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah. By the way, Advent Neon looks great. Been following the developer for a while, so super excited to see that. I'm going to talk about Promise Mascot Agency. I've been sort of alluding to this for the last year, I feel like, since it got announced. New game from the Paradise Killer team. If you know what that is, you need to be excited for it. If you don't, it's a cool game, and this one is very weird. Both of those, Paradise Killer and this one, are very bizarre video games, hard to describe. Promise Mascot Agency, I think if I were to describe it, is it's like a third-person adventure game where you're driving around a city in a K-truck with your severed toe mascot friend. You're playing as an ex-Yakuza who's, they don't explain it in the demo, but they skip the story stuff, which I appreciate, and just get you straight to playing as the ex-Yakuza who is working with this mascot to start your mascot advertising agency. Your goal is to go around and collect more mascots, not ascots, not the little neckerchiefs, to go around and collect them to help you do jobs. You send them on jobs to like help out local companies. You talk to random characters. It's very funny. It's very silly. It's over the top. And there's random stuff you can do along the way. The meat of it is these moments that you send the mascots out to do. So it'll be like advertising for a local company. You'll send your tofu mascot that you find, who's just a big block of tofu with a bite out of it. And the tofu mascot is on this job. And when I was doing it, it was like, they failed. You have to go help them. So you send these random civilians that you find to go help them. It is such a Frank Howley-ass game. It's so weird. Incredibly Japanese. They have like a ton of adoration for all these the different genres of video game. In fact, the voice cast. Sorry, let me finish the tofu. Sorry, the tofu got stuck. He had to go help them, and like it gets stuck in the door, and there's a fight between the tofu and the door that's not wide enough, and you have to you use cards to beat the door.
Oh my God.
It's like you're playing one of those absurd Japanese commercials that makes no sense.
A Keita Takahashi game or something,
like very absurd and strange. And they totally nail the tone of it. I love the music. It's so good. It's done by Alpha Chrome Yeo and another artist whose name isn't coming to mind right now, but like Very, very good music. As soon as you start playing it, it's like, it's almost distractingly good because it's so bumping. Like, I don't want to stop listening to it. So really, really great vibes overall. I love the look of it. It has this like PS2 kind of like overlay on it, filter to make it look a little washed out. And you can disable it if you don't like how that looks or hurts your eyes or whatever. But I think it totally sells the style that they're going for with this game. And the last thing I'll mention, the voice cast is bizarre. The main character is voiced by Takaya Kurata. Apologies if I butchered that. Kiryu voices the main character.
Jesus.
It also has who is it? Swery, the developer of
Swery.
Yeah, Swery. Sorry, is how you say it. Yeah.
Wait, he's a voice actor in this?
Yes.
Oh shit.
And Shuhei Yoshida.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yes,
Shu
I
and
know.
Swery to be fucking voices in this? Are they mascots or something?
I think so. I haven't run into
that's
them, or at
great.
the very least, I couldn't tell. But yeah, they're in the game. Also, they have a trailer here. Yeah, it looks like they're voicing mascots. Yeah.
Oh my god! Now I want to know who else is.
There's a couple other like anime and video game voice actors in here as well.
Suda 51 in there.
I don't think. I mean, maybe that's a
Suda would be
secret.
great. I'm sure. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, that was Promise Mascot Agency. Jeremy.
All
you
right, let's do Ruffy and the Riverside.
Nice.
This game is
Shout out to Riverside, our recording platform here.
It's brought to you by Riverside. It's about Ruffy. He makes a podcast, and but he can't get the guest physically in location.
Oh, is he a white guy?
How'd you know?
Yeah. Okay.
He's a moderator on a few subreddits. So Ruffy and the Riverside. This is
Loves
a
Alpha Brain. He's big in the nootropics fucking world.
Yep, exactly. Does some questionable advertisers, some dick pills and
He's
stuff.
not sure who he's going to vote for. He's kind of open to,
Yeah, he's sort of an apolitical figure in the scene, he's waiting, playing his chips. So Ruffy and the Riverside is about none of those things. Ruffy and the Riverside, which I've said so many times now, it's lost all meaning, is a game about, it's like a 3D platformer in the style of like Banjo-Kazooie. It's got the Crash Bandicoot references like come almost immediately, where the level like corridors into this thing and you feel like you're playing an old Crash Bandicoot game. So it's drawing on a lot of different things. I thought it was going to be sort of more straight Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64, but it's kind of like merging a lot of those old 3D platformer influences into something that feels sort of authentically new. And at first blush, that is not a pitch that would get me on board, because I've played a lot of these sort of like neo retro 3D platformers, and they kind of like, I loved that genre as a kid. They kind of don't do it as much for me. Ukulele looked amazing, but it didn't click with me. Astrobot I thought was technically very impressive, but it just didn't really do it for me.
Pull at your heartstrings, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really click with me. The reason I love Ruffy and the Riverside is not only that it feels like it's doing those sort of like play the hits, but it's also got one of the most novel mechanics I've ever seen in a 3D platformer. It's got this texture swapping ability. So what you do is, say there's like, I'll give one example. I won't spoil a bunch of these because figuring out what different things do is part of the delight here. So let me just give one example and you can imagine what else might be possible. There is an area where there's a large body of water and there's like a bunch of platforms. You can't swim. Ruffy drowns immediately. So you're like, what do I do with this big body of water? So you look around and there are all these different textures. So at first I saw sand and I was like, oh, I can capture the sand texture, put it onto the water, and now the water will be sand and I can walk across it. But textures only can impart so many qualities. So once I put the sand texture onto the water became sand, but it was still flowing like water. So then Ruffy steps on it, it gets sucked in, and it was quicksand. So it's not like a total one-to-one translation. There's like interesting sort of interplay between the qualities of materials. So then I looked around and saw something that was frozen. And so I captured the ice and put it onto the water, and now the water was walkable because it was ice and not quicksand. Another example is turning a waterfall into like climbing vines, things like that. So it gets you to think about the world in ways where things that otherwise might recede into the background of your attention because they're just sort of like set decoration, or they're just sort of the walls that keep you in a level. All of a sudden now you're like, okay, there's all these stone blocks in my way and I need to break them. Let me look around for something that might be a breakable material so I can project it onto them.
Can I also mention that this game suffers from the podcast problem more than most? because this game looks fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, it looks fantastic. It's got this sort of like hand painted texture, low poly 3D thing going on, but all of the characters are sort of like hand drawn, hand painted 2D characters. They sort of remind me of like Paper Mario a little bit, not in style, but they've got that sort of like punchiness and character design.
They have a stroke around them.
Yeah,
a bit like those characters do.
Like it's cut out of a sheet of paper. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you cut it. Yeah. But it's so beautifully animated and
it's gorgeous. The animation is
color
so good.
and the lighting, like it all works. It's not like they've just taken like, it's not one beautiful art style and it's kind of not just two that sort of don't really fit together. Like it blends really well. Like I've been just watching this video on loop the whole time you've been talking, just going, Jesus, this looks fucking cool.
It's beautiful. The style's fantastic. It also captures a lot of like I don't even know how I would describe it. The intro felt like I was watching the intro to like a better Pixar movie or something. Right. The intro to the demo is you're on like an island that's falling and your little bee friend is like, we got to get off of this, like turn something into a texture so we can like climb out of here or whatever. And your mole friend is digging into the island that you're falling on and he's like looking for treasure. And so when you escape, you're like, are you going to leave? He's like, no, there's like more gems here. I'll like be fine. Like it's very silly and yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the risk you can run with doing sort of nostalgia 3D platformers is like just being like quirky sort of world and colors is enough. This seems to be doing like a little bit of storytelling and world building and character building beyond that.
I want to mention
Ruffy
one
and
more
the
thing about
Riverside.
Ruffy. There's a really cool little platforming thing you can do where you jump into the wall. Jeremy, I don't know if you got the chance to do that.
Oh yeah, I've seen it in the video.
Yeah. It's like the Mario Odyssey thing where you just jump in the wall. Now it's a 2D platformer on a wall. It looks really cute. I love the art style of it. It's great. It's like we should have more platformers that are willing to get weird and do stuff like that. And the technical stuff on offer in Ruffy is very impressive. I agree with you for sure.
Jesse, what's up for you?
Yeah,
Your last one.
I gotta say the name of this one. And this is the last one.
Oh, here we go.
Move on.
No, it's not. Sorry, we'll
Okay, I
do
was gonna
the
say,
last
there's one
one
more
you guys
both-
did.
Yeah, we're joint.
Both did. But please, can you move into the mic real close? Jesse,
Sure.
see this one.
Yeah, I'll so the next game I'm going to talk about is called He Is Coming. Yeah. All right. And welcome back, everyone. This is I'm never going to say the
adult
name of this game
portion.
for the rest of the time that I talk about it.
Is this a Jesus game?
Weirdly, no. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you define Jesus.
It's not a Jesus game, and it's not an ejaculation game.
Then
What
what's
could
the
it be
point?
about?
What could it be
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
So this is an auto battler roguelike. Would never
Oh,
would
the
have
third
guessed.
guess.
Yeah. It's really, really good. So it's visually it's designed to look like a 90s RPG on like an old style PC. It's got the scan lines and everything, the big chunky bright pixel art. In fact, I think if you told me this was a UFO 50 game, it feels on
Right.
that level, like an expanded version of a UFO 50.
You know what it looks like
kind
to
of
me?
game.
Loop Hero.
Yeah, it's a little loop
Oh,
hero, Jason. I had a couple people mention that visually. It is about a time loop sort of thing as well, so it's not too far off. But you're on this grid as an adventurer, moving around, trying to power up because at the end of 2 or 3 nights, there's a big boss that'll randomly appear and you have to be prepared to defeat it. You know what abilities it has way in advance. You can automatically check what is what they're going to be
right.
better at. And then you're going around fighting different enemies, getting resources, money, whatever, so you can upgrade and buy new equipment and weapons. And the challenge is building combos. And this was the thing that like, there's 2 moments that really made me go, oh, okay, I could play this forever. I found it very addictive as soon as I noticed these. So like your builds, the equipment that you have, are done in a way where if you get like 3 leather equipment, then you get a special upgrade. It's a pretty normal thing in like action RPGs, right? But because it's an auto battler, you can't rely on your other abilities. Like you can't just say, I'll dodge out of the way or I'll make sure that I'm positioned properly. Like, no, you have to focus on making sure that your builds work. And then the second part of it is your builds and the way that they're structured are so varied. Each time you beat one of the bosses, I think there's like 3 in a single run, you unlock more inventory spaces. So now you have more options for building different setups. Yeah. And the things you can unlock are shown to you at the end after you finish a run, whether you win or lose. You unlock new things.
That's cool.
And
so you
the
can
unlocks.
plan, is it?
Exactly, yeah. And the unlock screen, the way that it works is if you have 2, I think maybe 1 or 2 adjacent unlocks on the screen, like as soon as you finish, it pops up. It's got this huge grid of all these unlocks. They show you what you need to do to get the next one.
That's cool.
And they're really interesting, like inventive little, like you have to come up with different combos that you would never consider. And you see the unlocks and you're like, oh, that works with that. Or like it's a little hint of something you can try or a place you can go to or interaction you can do. I was like, man, I played like 45 minutes of that and I had to stop. I was like, I have to play something else or I'm going to run out of time with all these demos. Very, very fun. Love the style of it. And after Unicorn Overlord, I think I might be Auto Battler pilled, and this is a real good one.
Hell yeah. Okay. Looking forward to that one as well. That one is called He Is Coming. That's what I sound like.
Such an unfortunate name. Like, it's a good name, but it's like...
He's coming.
He seems to be the Demon King.
Yes.
But,
And he is...
Which is Jesus,
You
depending
you better
on how you think
believe
about
he's
it.
coming.
Oh,
better
no.
bring some fucking wipes. 'cause
You
he
better
is-
get some tissues.
This podcast brought to you by Dude Wipes.
Jeremy, your last game here is also Jesse's last game. From the folks behind Quadrilateral Cowboy, 30 Flights of Loving. I remember the Adam Zombie Smasher, I think was the first Blendo game I played. Blendo Games, they've come out of the fucking woodwork with this game. Also, a little bit of a kinky name to it. Jeremy, why don't you tell us about this game?
This game is called Skin Deep.
Oh, boy.
We did say we were playing adult video games, adult entertainment on this
We
episode.
warned you, motherfuckers.
Yeah, we gave you the heads up. Content warning. Not the game content.
Not the
warning.
game. Yeah. Unrelated.
Skin Deep it's Blendo Games immersive sim system shock.
He said the words.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
a Danny
The
game.
words.
This is a Danny ass
This is
video
such a
game.
Danny
I can't believe you
game,
didn't
yeah.
play this already.
No, it's let us sell you on Skin Deep
Okay.
without spoiling anything,
Okay.
and you will. This is such a Danny game. So, this is you're in space. There are pirates boarding a ship that is run by cats. The crew are cats, and you are the sort of personified insurance policy against the pirates.
And the cats
your
have
name is-
voices. They are voiced, and the main one has like a very deep, gravelly
Yeah.
voice.
We'll come back to the
Yeah.
voiced cats because one of my favorite moments of the whole fucking game is the
The
cats.
cats are the pirates, or the pirates have taken over the cat ship?
Cats are the crew of
Okay.
the ship. The pirates are humanoid or human or whatever.
So you're there to save the cats. Okay.
So you are also a humanoid person. I say humanoid because your
Humanoid.
character can breathe in space. So I don't know.
That's handy.
Yeah. A protagonist is named Nina Pasadena as well. Fantastic name.
It's a great name.
So
It's a great name.
what you're doing in this game is essentially you are sneaking around a ship and interacting with a bunch of, as you may have guessed from the earlier pitch, systemic sort of elements in the world to stealth, to kill, to subterfuge, to subvert, to explode your way through these levels without dying. So it's a very like silly version of an immersive sim. You're not sneaking up behind people and like garroting their throats with a knife or whatever. You're like throwing black pepper at people, and then they start sneezing and they're stunned, and then you like jump on their back and ride them like a cowboy until you can smash their head into something.
Oh wow. Okay.
Very
And you
sort of
said
like
levels. So are the? Did you say levels?
Yeah,
Or is
yeah.
It, is it one? Is it one? Oh, but it's one space station. Is it? Is it? My question, I guess, is it like System Shock and stuff where it's linear, or does this feel like a game where you're sort of exploring a lot of the space station?
No. It's not like the recent Prey, Arcane Prey. It's more like it's kind of more like quadrilateral cowboy. It's like
Okay.
these standalone sort of levels. I mean, you only see sort of a tutorial and a level in the demo as far as I played. But yeah, they're sort of like these toy box spaceships with a bunch of systems, and they kind of just let you loose in them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the tutorial is very on rails, and then they sort of let you loose, and I immediately was like, oh shit, I could see why the tutorial was so on rails because there's so much going on here. Like they're like, oh, there's the
They need to
pepper,
teach
and then
you.
and then if you use the pepper, you can knock down a guy, but then if you knock down a guy, you can rip his head off. But then if you don't take the head, they'll respawn because they have a thing that puts their heads back on their bodies. But if you do take the head, you can throw them out into space, or you can flush them down the toilet, or like there's just a million things you can do with everything.
What was the name of the game? You got us into this. It was another immersive sim in a space station. It was the most immersive sim ever made.
Control
Remember that
Alt Ego.
Yes, Control.
Oh, yeah.
Good job, Jesse.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Control. It feels a little bit like. It sounds a little bit like. It's not as crazy deep as Control.ego though, is it?
Yeah, well, it's sort of like deep in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, it does have similar sort of like color scheme and tone, like Madcap tone a little bit. Yeah, that's actually a good comparison. But this feels very sort of distinctly more like, yeah, I don't know, like Fifi or System Shocky or something about it feels more like those to me. But yeah, it's very fun. There's a huge degree of freedom. You can Derek Liu cut the trailer for this and
cool.
did a fucking great job, because the trailer is sort of like one big stretch of it is just an unbroken like pepper the guy, stun him, jump, break the window, jump out into space, come back in, break another window from space, guy gets sucked out into space. So it's about these sort of like long unbroken chains of interacting with the systems in different ways and sort of like dipping in and out to have these different strategic approaches.
Excellent. Okay.
It's really, really good. I think the way that they introduce you to the straightforward mechanics, like the tutorial area, like Jeremy was saying, is very quick cut. So you kind of learn this is how the pepper works, this is whatever. But like the thing that I found myself really just like latched onto was the fact that you learn things so systemically in this way where like they don't introduce certain things and it's so funny when you learn what they are. I won't say what they are because they're funny on their own when you learn them. But like, say for instance, you needed to clean your hands and you like pressed a button somewhere and it turned out that thing activated a whole new prospect. Maybe like now you can light stuff on fire because you used the hand sanitizer or whatever, right? Maybe that's something that happens. But you don't learn these things unless you look into them. There's a zoom in feature that you have in the game where you sort of like can read any text anywhere as soon as you can find it, and like it just zooms in. It's like, here's the poster and you can read it. And it's just funny as hell to read what these things do, the interactions in the world, and learn them on the fly. There was one where there's the one I will say is there's bananas that you can.
I've seen bananas in the trailer.
Yeah, you eat the banana and then you throw the peel on the ground and
terrific.
You could slip on it. But there's another moment if you do the sort of challenges, it has that Hitman thing where when you finish a level, it'll be like, hey, you could also do this. What if you found this cool secret item? If you do one of those things, the most slapstick, like Benny Hill ass gameplay I had for 5 minutes was my character just falling on their ass after I finished this special challenge. So there's lots of opportunities for replaying and seeing other ways of solving problems, like a good immersive sim. And I think it does a good job of leading you on that path to finding those other things in a way that's not overly like, there's no checkpoint marker of like, hey, did you check this yet? Go over here. It's just like, go figure it out on your own and experiment. It's a ton of fun. I can't wait to play the full thing.
Hell yeah. Skin Deep. Any idea when it's coming out?
Did they have a date? Was it April?
April 30th, 2025.
Okay. So
the only other thing I have to mention is that this is in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler. When you free the cats are locked up, you would find cat keys to free the crew, the cats. And when you liberate the cats, it goes into like a momentary sort of like zoom in cutscene where the cats jump out in slow motion, and they're these blocky cats. It's just like a bunch of cubes with cat textures on them, and the screen says the word meow, and they go meow in the most monotone. And it's like
that sounds very 30 Flights of Loving.
Yeah, it's very fucking funny. Yeah, totally.
Meow.
It's unbelievable. It gets me it happened like 6 times, and every time I died laughing.
Even you describing it sounds fucking brilliant. So
it's so good.
I gotta check that out. I do want to. So that was Skin Deep. Skin Deep. It's just to quickly name the other ones. We also had Skin Deep, Promise Mascot Agency, Ruffy and the Riverside, Advent Neon, and he is coming. He's coming. If you're interested in something a bit more Prey in your immersive sim, I've queued up so many fucking games. I did the thing where I like didn't play a bunch of games so I could play them when I went to my holidays, and then played 0 video games. I played SteamWorld Dig on the plane out to SteamWorld Dig 2 because it's such a fucking great game, and I hadn't played it in 4 years, and I knew it'd burn an entire flight, and it did, so that was great. The flight did not burn. The flight was fine.
Oh God!
I am here. No, I know it's a weird time for planes right now. In fact, when I was leaving Hawaii, ETOPS went down, which is it's the system they use in case an engine fails over Pacific to basically get you to
oh my God.
an airport. It's like a really cool system. It's one of these things that like shows how safe air travel is, that like they have this crazy radar system set up for the most unlikely thing. It's like, you know, losing an engine or whatever in the middle of the Pacific, and it goes, oh, there's the nearest airport, go there. But the system went down. So we were sat on the fucking, and the pilot said it. And I think I was like, cause I'm like a weird aviation fanboy. I know nothing about flying planes, but I watch a lot of stupid YouTube videos, and he said ETOPS is down. And I was like, I might be the only person on this plane who knows what ETOPS is. And then I was like over explaining it to my wife, and she's like, yeah, we get it. You watch YouTube videos, so shut the fuck up. But I played a bunch of SteamWorld Dig on the way back as well, once the plane got going. But if you are interested in another version of, so what I'm basically saying is we're going to have a lot of Steam fucking Next Fest demos to talk about next week as well, I imagine, some of whom may hopefully still be going on because they kind of do that now. But at the moment, one of the ones I queued up is Lonely Space, which is kind of like a Prey immersive sim style thing, like more in the sort of arcane Prey style. If you're interested in that. So there is a demo out for that at the moment. Lonely Space, which is apparently coming out. They don't even have a release date for it. So in the future, I have so many fucking video games to play. Okay, that was a long podcast. We're going to keep the emails till next week, Frank, if that's all right. We've had enough chin wagging to go on here, and I have some fucking video editing to do, as I know Jeremy does as well. We are working away on some stuff. Jeremy's working on something secret now. You just handed off the Everbloom series to me, so I'm excited to get those out. They're pretty much done. I'm just going to write some stand-ups for him, and that's it. Stick them in there, babe. That's a whole technical series about various aspects of the technical side of making games. We have a video on how doors work in video game. We have a video on trees. What else do we have?
Let's see. Doors, trees, sound, and sound design, which is a really, really good one because Riley worked on sound for like the Sims franchise and Astroneer and stuff.
Yeah.
And then what is the fourth one?
Character.
Trees. Oh, character. We already said trees. Yeah, character.
Yeah, so they're going to be
trees, doors, sound, and trees.
And trees, exactly. Yeah. It's like the fucking top name and number between 1 and 10 all over again.
Yeah.
So we'll have those. The Dwarf Fortress documentaries are almost done. 4 episodes, super chunky, super meaty. And our Disco Elysium documentary has been actually coming along even better. I've had more interviews to add into it, which is fantastic. And I'm actually recording some more this week with some big people. So by the time we're done with this thing, we'll have interviewed like probably at least over half of the original people who worked on Disco, on the record or off the record. We've had actually people at this stage go, oh, you've already talked to X and Y about this. You don't need, I was the 3rd programmer on the team. You've already talked to the first 2. That's fine. Don't worry about it. So we're getting to that stage where people are like, oh, you're good. telling us we're good, which is usually a sign that we're overextending it a little bit. So, excited for that as well. Loads of Patreon exclusive bits and bobs, of course. Hitting which I talked about earlier, the Kingdom Come to Deliverance Playdate, our Patreon exclusive podcast about the 2025 bingo card. The Hades Blu-rays are still in stock. We had new stock come in, and also now they are available in the European Fangamer website. So if you are a European gamer in Europe, over in Europa, you can go to fangamer.eu and pick up the Hades documentary there for a slightly cheaper tax rather, and slightly cheaper, no customs issues as well, and your shipping should be a little bit cheaper as well. If you're in the Battle Pass, you should have basically gotten it by now. I know George and Cyprus and a bunch of the rest of the guys who are all over the world have gotten it. I think George was the furthest one and he got his one. So if you haven't gotten yours and you're an American, you definitely should send me a DM. And if you're in Europe, you should also probably at this stage maybe send me a DM, or it's going to come. Yeah, by the time this podcast comes out, you should have gotten it. So let me know if you haven't. And yeah, aside from that, enjoy some video games. What do you guys got going on this week? What are you up to? Anything strange or startling? Nope.
Frank's always got something.
Yeah, Game Changer Wrestling's going to be in Los Angeles at the Ukrainian Culture Center, GCW LA. It's always a great time.
Hell yeah. Ukrainian, is there? No, it just so happens to be on in the Ukrainian Center.
That's where all wrestling shows are always hosted in either like YMCA centers, like basketball gyms or whatever, but they've been running it at the UCC for a while. So yeah, it's a place that also hosts like quinceañeras and weddings. So it's just a
They
giant
should have
hall.
one at the same time.
Yeah, that happened once where at the UCC there's a wrestling show, and then across the street or just next door was a quinceañera. So it was like
Beautiful.
I love that when you see the crossover of two different environments. Like when there's a gaming convention, everyone's dressed up as Cloud Strife and like, I don't know, a wrestler. And then you cross the street, there's people like, yeah, man, the accounting was pretty whack this year, man.
We had that happen at the MCM Expo in London one year, where MCM Expo, which is basically like Comic-Con, was in London, and on the other side was like Britain's Next Top Model. And you had like 20-year-old women from totally different universes looking at each other going, what the fuck are you wearing? You know what I mean? You'd like somebody in like crazy cool cosplay, and then someone in like heels and a $2,000 dress. It was pretty funny. There were cameras just filming it all.
That's awesome.
Makes it sound like I'm a bit of a pervert.
You were
but
just
then I
there
did say
filming
he's coming
unrelated
1,000 times in this fucking podcast. I'm really giving them evidence for my eventual trial. Okay, let's get out of here before I do any more. Patreon.com/Noclip if you want to support our shit. And otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye.